time for Reverend Thomas DeSchutter to tell us about Reevaluate so we can review. Let's see what he has to say today.
You know what? I think I'm going to change things up.
You want to move that out?
I'm going to become very official today. Yes. Oh, you know what? Last night, the concert, Anella, Camilla Hoy. Huh? For those that were here, was that not brilliant? That was a great show last night. I loved his storytelling. You know, just like somebody that has been in the performance music world for as long as he has, and the places that he has played and the journey he's had and the different instruments, and you know, having one of them for years and years and telling those stories was really it was great. Oh, whoa, hello. This is God. No. I notice we have a clock on the back wall now. Thank you, Sally and Gilles. I think it's a message to me, though, so I can actually keep track of time. So I'll take it personally that the clock is there now, so I can, keep time of how long I'm actually up here. Before we talk about Reevaluate, I had a near-death experience in Michigan.
Why are you talking about this?
So this has never happened to me before. So I had gratitude this week for the people, whoever it was that invented putting the divots on the side of the highway, so that when you start going off the highway and it wakes you up. Yeah, so I was driving back from Detroit to Grand Rapids by myself in the car in the middle of the afternoon. I had just eaten some food, and I guess I sugar crashed. And I'm driving, and I was thinking, I need a rest stop, because I could use like a 12 or 18-minute nap, a power nap. And the next thing you know, I wake up, and I am headed at 75 miles an hour directly for whatever the middle was between the two highways. It was not pretty. I don't know how I stayed on the road and swerved back in, but I was now awake. Like never before was I now awake. And then this was what was beautiful, is that literally, 20 seconds later, rest stop, 1 mile. And so I was like, I better get over. And so anyhow, I've driven a lot. On touring with my band and stuff, I've driven thousands of miles at all kinds of times during the morning and the evening, and I've never had that happen before. Anyhow, I'm happy to be alive. So my gratitude this week has been for whoever invented putting the divots on the side of the highway and the highway crews that put them there, because it woke me up, and so thank you to them. So my talk title, Reevaluate so you can review, in case you didn't get it, it's to review as in have a new view in life, not review your life. You reevaluate so that you can create a new view. So I'm going to borrow from Fillmore and from Emerson on some ideas here that I picked up in my readings while we were away. And of course, one of them, the first one is Charles Fillmore, The Law of Mind Action, which we all know as unity. If we've been in unity long enough, we know that that's the third principle of unity teachings, is the law of mind action. And it's change your thoughts, change your life. So Fillmore actually taught that our thoughts shape our reality. And you've probably heard this from many different spiritual teachers or wisdom teachings throughout the ages. When we consciously reevaluate our thoughts and beliefs, we unlock new possibilities and a higher awareness. Reviewing means seeing from a renewed spiritual perspective rather than through the lens of limitation. So what they're saying here, what we're saying is that if you actually spend the time to look at how you process your thoughts, what you think about, how you perceive the world, that's where the growth comes, right? That's actually where we can begin to evolve spiritually, is in the reviewing of ourselves. Not, it's really easy to review other people, isn't it? Yeah, we all know what other people need to do, but it's taking the time to actually review ourselves. That spiritual awakening or transcending can actually happen, transcending the current state that we're in. And so in philosophy, transcendence is the basic ground concept from the words literal meaning from Latin of climbing or going beyond. That's what transcendence is. So sometimes you might transcend something and include, right, what you already have learned. It's not like you need to change who you are. There might be some things that you want to have fall away, but there also might be things you want to bring along with you that you have learned as lessons and then kind of enhance them. Next up from Emerson, the power of the present moment, trust in divine intuition. So Emerson emphasizes the inner divine guidance and the power of intuition. When we pause to reevaluate, we create space for new insights and spiritual wisdom to emerge. This aligns with Emerson's idea of self-reliance, trusting on our inner truth instead of old habits or societal conditioning. And we've talked about this before here at Unity, this idea of what have we brought along with us that has been conditioned upon us. I think it's in the 4 agreements. One of the first lines in the book is the dream of the planet, that there's this conditioning in our lives that is already set in motion in our societies. And so it's understanding that and seeing it and then asking that question, being curious of yourself, how does this show up in me and how can I maybe shift this? Is this something I actually want to be living with? And so Emerson's idea of self-reliance, trusting, again, it's going within, right? It's trusting in our own inner wisdom and our own inner guidance. Today's daily word being on wisdom, looking within, always bringing it back to ourselves. Next up, the principle of divine order, from Fillmore, seeing with spiritual vision. So Fillmore's idea of divine order reminds us that everything unfolds in perfect timing. Whenever I hear that, I often think that I don't want people to get the idea that there's a program running, that it's all predetermined. Yet, I truly believe that the universe in each one of our lives can only unfold the way it's unfolding because of everything that's been put into the soup, so to speak. But by reviewing our lives through spiritual vision, we shift from frustration to faith, recognizing the divine pattern working in and through us. And this isn't faith as in belief. This is faith as in knowing. Because when you know something, that's different than faith, isn't it? It's not the same thing. And when I think of that, I mean, faith in like, I need to have faith in this, but I don't really believe it. Right? So you're kind of grasping at something to have faith in it, as opposed to a faith as a deep knowing. There's a difference there, I think. I think there's a distinction. And I can see that as a child, as a kid, I had that other faith, that thinking that if I pray to God, somehow it'll all work out, instead of a knowing that I am part of that Godness. And for me, there's a difference there. Next up from Emerson, we have non-resistance and flow. Let go and see anew. So Emerson speaks about self-transcendence, urging us to release rigid perceptions and flow with universal truth. When we reevaluate and let go of resistance, we review our experiences with openness, allowing transformation to unfold naturally. And of course, one of our powers, the power of release, is to let go and allow something new to come in, right? When we let go of something, we create that space for something new. And I believe, in order to actually review or see the world differently, we maybe have to give up some things along the way, right? We might have to actually let go of some ideas or some thoughts that we have. And again, it's always pointing back to the work is always here. It's in each of us. It's not out there. It's back to us. Regeneration and spiritual renew from Fillmore. A new vision creates a new life. Fillmore taught that spiritual growth requires renewing the mind. Reviewing isn't just about seeing differently, it's about aligning with divine potential and stepping into a greater version of ourselves. So again, it's calling upon that understanding what is our own individual potential and really trusting that and knowing that and running with it. You know, whenever I've listened to very successful artists or successful athletes, it's like they don't know any other way. For them, it could never have been different. They worked and worked and worked at their craft, but they knew that that's who they were. And I believe that's what it takes in our own lives, is trusting that this is our life and I'm working at my life. Because life on its own for humans somehow just doesn't work out in a way. It's kind of hard, right? We have to actually learn as we go. And we push up against comfort zones, right? And it's always when we're pushing up against that comfort zone that we maybe want to retreat and fall back. But that's where the growth is. That's where the transcendence is when we push beyond what's comfortable. Not too much, though, right? It's got to be a little bit at a time. You know, we get a little bit uncomfortable, we stay in that discomfort, we adopt that, and now that becomes the new comfortable. And then we push on again into that next place of discomfort. I mentioned the word spiritual vision, and I wanted to give a little bit of an understanding around that. So spiritual vision is the ability to see beyond appearances and perceive life from a higher divine perspective. It means looking at situations, people, and even ourselves, not just through the physical senses, but through inner wisdom, intuition, and faith. So we need to see beyond the surface, right? We need to see, like, I was actually talking with somebody last night about the current investment markets and how from the current state it looks like it's very, very messy out in the world. And you would hear maybe in the news that, oh, the world is going crazy, it's all falling apart, this is terrible times. And yet, I know from my years in the stock market that we always had these charts that we could look at all of the terrible times that have happened. You know, go back to the 60s. A lot of unrest going on back in the 60s. In the 70s, we had inflation and gold went up through the roof. And in the 80s, we had interest rates in the 20% plus. Like, the world is always in these states that is happening. And it's no worse or better than before. It's just a new place that we're in. And it calls upon us to not overreact to that stuff, but to actually find the peace within so that we can navigate what's right for us. You know, it just looks different, but it's still a mess, and we've been here before. It's just a different mess that we're in. Right? And that's the way life seems to be, right? There's a struggle always unfolding, and at the same time, we can overcome those struggles, but I believe it requires working on ourselves and then projecting out into life, not allowing life to life us, you know, where it's coming at you and you just feel like, I'm just surviving. Or you wake up and you're headed off the highway and you need to swerve to... Sometimes we need to do that, right? But if we can operate from the place of actually driving and seeing what's going on, then we can move forward powerfully and make choices for ourselves. Spiritual vision is also recognizing the divine in everything, whether in others, in nature, or in our own journey, spiritual vision allows us to see truth, universal intelligence, God, expressing through all things. Imagine if we could look at everything as if that's what it is. So does anybody here ever want to yell at the news or the TV or the latest whatever and just, right? Right, yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I want to get mad and go yell at the jungle. And then if I can actually remember, right? This is the thing about spiritual practices. It's remembering and noticing that, oh no, wait a second, I can actually find the divinity in here somehow. There must be something here for me to see for myself about myself. And it might very well be my condemnation that might be happening in that moment. Right? Who am I condemning? What am I condemning? And what is there for me to look at? Shifting from ego to higher awareness, the human mind often sees through filters of limitation, past experiences, or doubt. Yeah, that's what, our brain is wired to try to pattern everything out for us so that we can go, oh, I've seen this before and now I can feel safe, right? And this is where when we are pushing for growth and it becomes uncomfortable, it's because it's unfamiliar. So we don't have anything to fall back on. We don't have necessarily the experience of oh yeah, I've played this before, so I can manage it. We might have to tiptoe into new territory. I'm fortunate. I live with an actress. As a profession, Leslie is an actor. And all the time, she's receiving new scripts that call upon her to be different, to approach it and figure out what is there for me to understand. There's so much, and Patricia could probably speak to this too as a minister. I think there's so much that is similar in the world of acting as there is in spiritual development, that you're called upon to find your truth so that you can actually bring yourself to this part or to this work that you might be doing. And I think that's the same for most artists. They're trying to bring their truth to it so that it becomes authentic and it becomes who they are. And I think if we approached our daily lives that way, bringing our truth and ourselves to it, at least what I've seen is when I do that, it seems to flow a little better for me. The experience seems to be far more peaceful and rewarding. And then holding a vision for good. This is also part of spiritual vision. Even when circumstances seem difficult, spiritual vision keeps us anchored in faith, seeing beyond temporary conditions to the greater truth of wholeness, abundance, and harmony. Something that we teach a lot of at Unity is that we are already in the presence of abundance. The power of love is about creating harmony, about harmonization. And then what I truly believe is we're all born whole and complete. There's nothing to fix. It's more that we're looking to return to that place of wholeness, to that experience of wholeness within ourselves. And so with that in mind, I would like to spend a few moments and reflect on these ideas, if you don't mind.